1. The main parts of the liturgy are three things: the prayers said by priests in the divine office, shown by the first angel; the Mass, shown by the second angel; and the sacraments, shown by the third angel. 2. The word rite can mean the way a certain group celebrates the liturgy in its own language and customs. It can also mean one specific ceremony, like the rite of baptism. 3. What is the Catholic Eastern Church? It is the part of the Church in the East that uses different liturgies and traditions from the Roman, Western, Church, but believes the same teachings and accepts the same Pope. Because of this, it belongs to the same one true Church. 4. The Catholic Eastern Church includes these groups: Byzantines, Syrians, Copts, Ethiopians, Chaldeans, Armenians, Malabarese, and Maronites. 5. At the start of the 4th century, the Church was united in both teachings and obedience to the Pope in Rome. Even then, people did not all follow the exact same ceremonies and customs. 6. Jesus had sent the apostles to different places, and while they kept the same teachings, they developed different customs and ways of worship based on the local culture. They also used many different languages. The Mass was the same sacrifice Jesus began, originally in Aramaic, but it was celebrated in many languages. 7. Later, political fights in the Roman Empire caused it to split into East and West. The churches followed this division, and over time, the Greek and then the Russian Orthodox churches broke away. They denied the Pope's authority but kept most of the same beliefs and practices. They still celebrated Mass, gave the sacraments, and kept Christian traditions. 8. Within the Eastern Catholic churches, only the Maronites have never broken away. Over time, many groups that had separated split even more. But starting in the 1500s and 1600s, many of them returned to unity with the Catholic Church. 9. The Eastern Catholics still use their own ancient rites and customs, some older than Rome's. Today each Eastern group keeps its own rules and traditions. Their Holy Liturgy, Mass, is celebrated in the language of that group, such as Slavonic, Romanian, Syriac, Arabic, Armenian, Greek, Coptic, Ethiopic, or Georgian. 10. Other differences include receiving communion under both bread and wine, using leavened, raised bread for Mass, baptizing by immersion, and bowing from the waist instead of genuflecting. 11. The main Eastern Catholic groups are under the Patriarchs of Alexandria, Antioch, Jerusalem, and Constantinople. In the 5th century, there were 5 major patriarchates in total, these 4 in the East, and Rome in the West. 12. Long ago, your right depended on where you were born. Today your right stays with you wherever you go, and your children inherit it. In the United States, there are 2 Eastern Catholic dioceses, one in Philadelphia, Ukrainian Greek, with about 316,800 members, and one in Pittsburgh, Russians, Hungarians, and Croats, with about 315,200 members. Including Canada, almost 1 million Eastern Catholics live among us. 13. The Catholic Eastern churches show that the Catholic Church is truly worldwide. The important teachings, faith, morals, and sacraments never change, but the way these things are celebrated may change. The organization can be flexible, but the basic beliefs do not change anywhere. 14. For example, Roman Catholics in the US have 6 holy days of obligation, while Ukrainian Catholics have 20. Their Christmas is also December 25th, but it falls on what we call December 7th because they use a different calendar. Eastern churches also have married priests, but if a married priest's wife dies, he cannot remarry, and if a single man becomes a priest, he cannot marry later. Bishops must be single or widowers. 15. Being united in faith does not mean everyone must use the same rite. Even within the Latin Church, there are older variations in worship. Pope Benedict XIV said, "Eastern Christians should be Catholics. They do not need to become Latins. Outward customs may differ, but the core faith is the same." 16. What is liturgy, and what is rite? Liturgy is any public act of worship given to God. Rite means the way that act is carried out. 17. Today, however, people often use the two words to mean the same thing. In a strict sense, liturgy now usually refers to the rite of the Mass. 18. The Roman Rite is basically the main rite used in the Western Church, and it uses Latin. During the early times of persecution, many different practices developed because communication was difficult. Later, as the Church became more organized, practices became more alike. In 1570, when the Roman Missal was published, the Latin Church mostly became uniform, though a few old variations remain. 19. The Byzantine Rite is the most widely used rite after the Roman one. It is used in Russia, Greece, the Balkans, and southern Italy. Greek is the main language, but Georgian, Slavonic, and Romanian are also used. The Orthodox Eastern churches belong to this rite. It began in Constantinople and is based on the rite of St. James. It was later shaped by St. Basil and St. John Chrysostom. In Russia, this rite is called Ruthenian. 20. Other Asian rites include the Antiochian, Chaldean, and Armenian. These are used in different ways across the East. The Antiochian rite is very old and comes from St. James. The Syrians, Chaldeans, Malabarese, and Maronites use versions of it. The Chaldean rite is used by the Chaldeans and Malabarese, usually in Syriac. The Armenian rite is used by Armenians in the Middle East, Italy, and Austria, and uses the Armenian language. It is based on the liturgy of Saint Basil. 21. In African Catholic churches, the main rite is the Alexandrian rite, also called the Liturgy of Saint Mark, though it has been changed over time. The Coptic and Ethiopian churches use it. Catholic Copts live mainly in Cairo and use Old Coptic and Arabic. The Ethiopian Church uses a form of the same liturgy. 22. The ceremonies of these rites may look unusual to Latin Rite Catholics, but their bishops and priests are true clergy, and their Mass and sacraments are real, even if done differently. The Church in the East is the same Church as in the West, the one true Church founded by Jesus Christ.